Hello, everybody. Welcome to the American Mystic. This is Denise King Francisco, coming at you live from the Enchanted Forest where it is snowing. It has been snowing, and it's going to continue to snow. It's actually very beautiful looking out, and there's nothing quite like looking out into the forest and being able to spot the bright red cardinals sitting out on their branches in the forest. It really is one of those sleepy, lazy, kind of comfy days. And as I was sitting here in my office, I thought, this might be a good day, a good time to have a podcast about a subject that sometimes gets touched upon. Sometimes people don't want to touch it at all. It's the subject of the law of exchange. And that's what we're going to talk about for the next 30 minutes. So wherever you happen to be, take a deep breath. Come on in. Hey, Kimberly Wink. Welcome into the chat room. The chat room is open, everybody. No matter where you happen to be around Grandmother Earth, you are welcome to join us in the chat room. It's good to have you here. And Rob is saying, I would not call it lazy as I'm trying to drive home in this. Yeah, please don't be lazy while you're driving, Rob. Hey, Jennifer. Hi, Kel. It's good to see everybody in the chat room. And for those of you that are in the chat room, if you could give me a like there by clicking that heart, that's giving me a like, and it helps with getting the shows published to different streaming services. So if you could do that, that would be great. So the law of exchange. It's kind of a really great topic, I think. And it's one that I've been talking about for a very long time. And I got a nudge, as I said this afternoon, Dana, go talk about it again. The law of exchange. What does that mean? Well, first, I'm going to draw a card from the Mystic Heart Empowerment decks so that we can start out with a thought out of the realms of mystery and intrigue. And it's the Archangel Metatron that I'm drawing from the Mystic Angels Empowerment deck. And of course, we know the Archangel Metatron is about transformation, the tree of life, the Kabbalah. Love all of that. Like a butterfly being called from its shimmering cocoon, your higher presence is calling you to the next phase of learning along your soul's journey. This is a time for advanced esoteric learning. I like that. I like working with Metatron anyway. Pretty magnificent archangel. The law of exchange. Hey, Laura Smith, welcome into the chat room. The law of exchange goes kind of sort of something like this, that if you take something, you should give something. If you give something, you should be open to receiving something. And both of those models sometimes get people's knickers in a knot, right? A lot of times people can be givers, and they give and they give and they give and they give, and they don't allow for the opportunity to receive. Hey, Holly Hagan. They don't welcome, or perhaps they don't know how to receive. And maybe you're one of those people, or maybe you know somebody who in your life likes to give, and they have a hard time receiving. And if you're one of those people that has a hard time receiving something from somebody, and you're a giver, understanding that the law of exchange is also assisting the person who is receiving. It keeps things in balance, receiving and giving. And I'm not saying that every time you receive something from somebody, you have a friend who's a gift giver, feeling like you always have to do the quid pro quo. But you know what I'm talking about. There are people in our lives that are givers, that don't know how to receive. for a variety of reasons. Hey, Del Marie. Hey, Lady Hawk. Maybe some people don't feel worthy of receiving. There are some people who feel that way. They're not worthy to receive something from another person. And that by giving, if they give, what they're trying to be assured of is love, of being liked, being appreciated. In the receiving, the thank you or the gift of exchange, there's an energy that happens. The law of exchange is about energy. And when I finally learned that it was good to receive, because not only did it make the person who was gifting me feel good about gifting me, but it also helped me to understand why I was being gifted. And I learned to receive graciously. And receiving and giving can be as simple as receiving a compliment from somebody. And we don't know how to exchange that. We don't know how to say thank you. Sometimes we'll say, oh, now this old thing that I have on, what do you mean you like that? Oh, yeah, well, thanks, Oh, I don't really look that good, but thank you anyway. Self-deprecating. The law of exchange and giving and receiving between friends and relatives is really a wonderful thing, especially when we can learn that in giving and receiving, it's not always about making sure that whoever gifted you receives from you something of equal financial value, monetary value, but something that is of value to you to give. Something of value from you that is for you to give. There's one thing I learned a long time ago about giving, and that is I've learned to give without expectation of return. And I'm talking about gift giving, whether it's a financial donation to somewhere or a gift that I'm gifting to somebody, whether it's financial or it's a thing. I learned a long time ago to give without the thought of what was going to be returned, if ever. A lot of times when we give, we all know this, we don't even receive a thank you. Sometimes we give, we don't receive a verbal thank you. Written thank yous have kind of gone the way of, dinosaurs for a lot of people. And so learning to give from our hearts without the expectation of it being returned quid pro quo, that's something that I learned a very long time ago. Give for the sake of giving because it's something that you choose to do. You see a need and you fulfill it. And then a long time ago, I met a gentleman here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who owned a very large trucking company, Harvey Gainey. And Harvey, years and years ago, it was actually the year 2006, I was in need of a semi-truck and a semi-driver to bring a shipment of clothing and appliances and things out to the Pine Ridge Reservation. And I did not know how I was going to pay for that. That was before Gathering Thunder was a 501c3 receiving contributions. From 2006 until 2009, I was Gathering Thunder Foundation along with Linda Griezak and a few other people. And I didn't know how I was going to pay for that semi. And somebody said, hey, have you ever talked to Harvey Gainey? I said, no, why? He said, well, I'm going to talk to Harvey for you. And within a week, I had a semi and a semi-driver at no cost to deliver all of the donated goods. And what I learned from Harvey Gainey, the owner of the trucking company, I learned his motto. And his motto was, "You cannot outgive God." That was always his motto. You cannot outgive God. So learning to give things from the heart and understanding that the law of exchange, sometimes the exchange happens from what we call the universe. Right? Have you ever done that before? You gave something out of the goodness of giving or the joy of giving, and the next thing you know, right, the universe is treating you to something pretty wonderful. You cannot outgive Creator. I like that, and I've learned that to be very true in my life. Del Marie is saying, most definitely. Most definitely. In the law of exchange, Kelly is saying, I love to give just because and from my heart, but it took me a long time to become comfortable with receiving, more in the way of receiving help, emotionally, physically. Yes, the law of exchange, receiving, giving and receiving. I agree with you, Kelly. Yep. And I think that that's something that you're still working on, and I'm glad that you're working on it. Sometimes we give because it's joyful to give. Del Marie, my sister, my sissy poo Del Marie always says, you can't give from an empty basket. That is true. Sometimes we can become so depleted, then we get crabby about giving. Have you ever been so depleted from giving that then you become crabby about it? Right? You're like mad at everybody, but not at yourself at first. And then you sit and you think to yourself, well, why are you mad at everybody? You chose to give. And now you're mad, you're crabby, you're tired. Which brings us to the personal conversation of, so why did you do that? What was your motivation for giving? What was your motivation for doing that thing? Was your motivation to be loved? To be liked? To be seen as the nice person? To be seen as the better person? To be seen as the wealthier person? Those moments of self-reflection of when we get crabby about it, sometimes we do come to a point where we say we just need to stop for a moment, reevaluate, refill the basket, and to take a look in those places where perhaps we were expecting to receive a thank you and didn't get it. Right? There's a lot to this whole idea of exchange, I think. I was one of those people, one of those kids of the 70s, 60s and 70s. I was raised that if somebody gifts you with something, you write a thank you. You get remember back in the day when you could buy the really pretty paper stationery? Oh my God, I used to love stationery, especially the kind that you could fold up into a card that came with stickers. Remember those? And you put a stamp on the front and mail it out. Oh yeah, and then I got, into the monogram stationery and writing thank yous. I still like to write thank yous, but that's something that I grew up with. It's something that I taught my children to do. Elise, my daughter Elise, is really good at that. Dane will typically text or call to say thank you to me or somebody else. But the law of thank you is something that I gave my children. And writing thank yous really has kind of gone by the wayside. But at the very least, I taught my kids to say thank you, whether it was a birthday gift, a Christmas gift, you see what I'm saying, confirmation gift, graduation, first communion, marriage, whatever. I think that saying thank you is always appropriate, right? Unless you were, given something less, something that is less than, something not quite what you would ever be thankful for, right? I think that thank yous are a beautiful thing. What about the law of exchange? Patricia is saying, this was something I had to work through, but it took me a long time. Oh, this is really good. Rob saying people have an overinflated sense of entitlement. I've stopped fixing computers for free. It did wonders for my blood pressure. Been cussed to my face over it, but I'm not a charity. Very good. Good for you, Rob. Catherine is saying manners have gone by the wayside, sadly. In some places, they truly have. And sometimes it's regional. When I visit my relatives down in the South in Georgia, manners are very much still in vogue. Very much so. And, I am not a woman who's opposed to having a man open the door for me. My husband still does that for me, whether it's my car door. Todd will open my car door for me, and when I get into the car, and if I'm not quick enough on the draw, he will open the door so that I can get out of the car. And he does open doors for me and for others as well. Some people, don't like that exchange of energy. That's okay. But I do like that myself personally. Holly is saying, I miss handwritten thank yous. I still do it and wonder at the reaction of the recipient. Oh, yeah. You and me both, Holly. I love a handwritten or a typewritten with a little note on it. I think, maybe that's old-fashioned. It could be classified as old-fashioned, but I like it. Laura is saying, does Todd have a brother? Well, he does. That's Kevin Spencer, and Kelly has him. I wish he had another brother available for you, Laura. But I suspect that you and Todd, doing your genealogy, both of you, I have a feeling you two are related. Isn't that something through ancestry? I love that. All right, Del Marie, sometimes it's conditional. Maybe inherited from culture, family, or unbeknownst that we are reciprocated by blessings by the divine, reciprocated by blessings by the divine power. Yeah. Right. The law of exchange. Sometimes we think, why are we giving? And if you're thinking, why are you giving? Or I never receive anything. Maybe you're not open to receiving. I never get nothing. Right? If you ever hear somebody say that, I never get nothing. Sometimes the things that we receive go unnoticed by us in the busyness of living. Some of the most graceful or grace-filled blessings or gifts that we receive are so subtle that we miss them and we don't say thank you for them. This afternoon as I was getting ready for the podcast and all, I had to make my annual doctor appointments, ladies, and gentlemen, you know what that means, right? And one of those is the annual mammogram. There's a lot of fun. And as I was thinking to myself, well, this is going to be a lot of fun, I thought to myself, you know what, Dee? Stop that. No, it's not fun. But the great news is, so far in your 59 years, every time you've had a mammogram, everything comes back just right. Just the way it's supposed to. I thought that to myself. That was my exchange inside my head. Be thankful for that. And so I said, boy, you know what? I am grateful for that. What a blessing, what a gift that is. That I don't have to press 2 on my phone because I've already been diagnosed with breast cancer. I get to press 1 because it's my annual mammogram. That was my gratitude exchange with Spirit just before all of the podcast, right? Yeah, Kevin opens the door as well for Kelly. Yeah, I think that's okay. My son Dane, he's a door opener. And I've taught both of my kids that if an elder, man or a woman or someone with a disability, needs assistance through a door, get to the door. Do that. Do that. Somehow the universe looks at that as something to be paid forward, right? And the universe does the paying forward, I've noticed, in those cases. Laura is saying, I think you're right. I'm pretty doggone sure, Laura, that you and Todd are your bohemian relatives. You're related. Isn't that exciting? I think it's pretty wonderful. What about the law of exchange? Rob kind of brought this up. Oh, Laura, thank you for the abundance of good health. Thank you for the abundance of financial blessings. Yes, I say that every day. Thank you for the abundance in my life and for the abundance that continually flows into my life. The joyful abundance, right? The financial abundance, the love abundance. Not an abundance of baloney and crapadiddle. Thank you for the abundance of joy and blah, blah. I say that. That's my exchange, my verbal exchange with Spirit every day. Every day when I light that candle on my ancestral altar, thank you to my relatives who are in spirit and to my illuminated ancestors who guide me. That's my exchange. Well, sometimes on my ancestral altar, I'll put a little cup of coffee. I have like a little Demitas coffee cup. I'll put some black coffee in it on my ancestral altar. I know my ancestors like to drink coffee because it's in my blood and in my bones to do so. So, I'm guessing, right? Hey, Susan Murphy, or Murray, it's great to see you there. Had to put my glasses on for a second, Susan Murray. Always grateful for all I have. Yeah, me too. No baloney, only good deli cuts. I was thinking the other day about olive loaf and pickle baloney. I don't know why these things come into my head, but they do. It does change your mindset on a daily basis when you start the day with thank you for another perfect day. Like you have had many, many perfect days in your lifetime. Yes. Yes. Exchange. But what about the exchange? Rob, you alluded to this. Everybody who wants something free for nothing. Right? What about the spiritual law of exchange? I think people have finally stopped saying this to me, but long time ago, there was one person, an associate in my life, who used to say to me, I don't understand why people with spiritual gifts charge to do a session. I don't understand why people who know how to do horoscopes or astrology or spiritual things, what right do they have to ask for money? If it's a God-given talent, they should just be sharing it with the world. And one evening, this exchange was going on. It was actually at a Coptic fellowship event. And I looked at this person and I said, isn't your brother a surgeon? Well, yes. Well, wouldn't you say that he's a gifted surgeon? I mean, most people who go into a variety of any profession, they have a gift for it. They have a talent for it. Well, yes, he's very gifted. So if you feel that he's gifted, where did that gift come from? Does he come from a long line of gifted people? And where did that long line of gifted people come from? So are you saying to me that your brother, the gifted surgeon, gifted by Creator with the ability to, should be doing all of his surgeries for free, for nothing? You could have heard a pin drop. He looked at me and he said, you know, I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way. Spiritual gifts and talents are no different than somebody who is talented at you fill in the blank and they receive a paycheck for it. There's an exchange, because there's a misnomer, I believe, that doing sessions for somebody, if somebody says to me, could you take a look into this for me? Sometimes I'll say, well, yeah, I'll let you know what I think about it or what I feel about it, or if something comes to me spiritually. But I really have stopped doing that. The older I have gotten, I've become, I understand the exchange that has happened with my body. The neurological exchange, the wiring in my brain. The wiring in my brain, the wiring in my heart is utilized every single time I see for somebody. I feel for them, I check in or I tap in. There's an exchange of energy. If I were a bricklayer, I always say, I could probably wear a belt, right, around my lower back to help with that. If I were working for two men in a truck, I'd be wearing one of those back braces. The back brace or the brain brace for somebody who is a seer or a sensitive is saying no. It's saying no. And the other thing that I've learned, and you probably all can all relate to this, is, have you ever given something to somebody and it's not appreciated, but you gave it as a gift and it's not appreciated and they just kind of tuck it away? And you ever do that? And you think, well, gee, apparently they don't like my gift that I gave. Huh. Well, I guess I won't do that again. I'm going to go in here into the chat room. Yes, give freely as was given unto you. Oh, goodness. Holly is saying, I'm starting an LLC and I'm intending to build in complementary offerings to balance out the help and blessings I have received in the endeavor. Good for you, Holly. Businesses give back, but they don't give away. Yeah. I mean, come on, Dell. Don't you want to bead somebody a pair of moccasins just for free because, Creator gave you this great gift of being a master bead worker? I mean, sometimes we do. That is true. I mean, there are times in my work, and some of you know this, in my work, the exchange is something that I simply understand that I am giving. And I know that somewhere down the pipe, the exchange will happen. Sometimes, there are those people that, for whatever circumstance in their life, are not able to financially exchange with me. And over the years, boy, I've received some pretty wonderful things in exchange for a session. I really have. But I'm just saying that in order for balance, it's all about balance, isn't it? Sometimes if I give, someone will say, well, what can I do to thank you? I'll simply say, oh, well, you just said it. Thank you. Thank you. Pay it forward. Do something nice for somebody today. Recently, I had a longtime client. Oh my goodness, somebody that I've been working with for a great long time. As many of you know, I work with cold case detectives, a few of them, police officers and detectives and agents that over the years have retired, but they continue to work cold cases. And I have several of these that I work with and have worked with over the years to help solve unsolved crimes, murders mostly. And this person called because his wife recently became ill, and I've known this woman for decades. And he was distraught. And I said to him, thank you for calling me. I would want to know this about your wife. What can I do to help you? And her, your family. What can I do? And he explained to me what it was that he was looking to have me do. And he said, and I will go online right now and pay you. And my reply to him was, no, you won't. And he said, what do you mean? And I explained to him that I would not be accepting financial payment because this is something that I choose to give from my heart to their family. Plain and simple. From my heart to your family. And he started to weep. So sometimes the exchange is the love that we have received over the years from somebody. In this case, from his wife. Right? The exchange was already set in motion. And the other thing that I wanted to say about exchange is that whatever you feel your exchange is worth, that's what it's worth. If you feel your exchange is worth $5 and somebody else feels that the same exchange coming from them is worth $25, it is what it is. That's what they have determined the exchange or their energy or whatever it happens to be is worth. Well, why does so-and-so only charge $10 to do my horoscope, my astrology reading, and the person down the road charges $25? Well, that's because both of those people have determined that that's what their time and energy is worth. And we all have the choice whether or not, we want to pay $5 or $25. Doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's what the person values their effort at or their product, right? Some people can get hung up on that. Well, gee, Holly Hagen is charging $10. And I can go down the road and get the same thing for $4. Well, you have that choice, right? So the reason I'm bringing that up is don't feel bad if somebody says to you, well, why do you charge more than the person down the road with the same kind of sort of shingle? Because it's based on what you have determined, your value, the value of your time, of your effort, supply, whatever it happens to be, your neurology, the wellness of your neurology, of your fingers, your hands, your back is worth. Rob says, because they only know $10 worth of astrology. Kimberly. I'm going to get back. Holly, that's beautiful. I have done the same. Some of best clients have fallen on hard times, but unable to take anything for pain. I offer to see them for free until they are back on their feet. They always honestly tell me when they are able to resume paying. Yeah. Del Marie is saying, do you all notice that people gravitate toward others to learn great traits of compassion and generosity? We pass on energy to others, especially when we know why you are a giving person. Yep. Holly is saying the thought of charging money for what I'll be doing is an edge for me, something to work on. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If I'm out in my garden for example. Well, there's this teaching. Del Marie, help me with this, please. The teaching of doing a wopila, a giveaway, a thank you. A wopila. If I go out into my garden and I collect, let's say, some growing tobacco. If I go out to my garden and I collect some of my tobacco to bring in to dry, etc., I am in the habit of leaving a gift for the intelligence of the tobacco plant. Oftentimes what I do now in my practice is I will leave 3 copper pennies as a thank you to a plant. If I'm plucking leaves or flower petals off of my echinacea to be used in candles or in soaps that I'm making or bath salts that I'm making, I always leave a thank you. 3 pennies. If I don't have 3 pennies, maybe I'll leave something else. I don't know. Maybe I'll sing a song. If I'm out in the forest and I need something from one of the trees, I will leave a thank you. Sometimes it'll be tobacco. I'll put tobacco down. The exchange doesn't happen just between people, but the exchange is a way of keeping equilibrium between the seen and the unseen worlds as well. If I light a candle, let's just say somebody calls me and says, can you pray for me? I sure can. And depending on what way I pray, maybe I use my chanupa, maybe I light a candle on my altar. I will make the prayer, and I will always leave something as a thank you. Always. And I will leave another thank you when I receive word of thank you, the prayers were received, this is what's happening. I'll leave a thank you for answered prayers. But if I'm making a prayer, I will leave a thank you, whether it's a bit of tobacco or 3 copper pennies or a song. If I light a candle for somebody, I automatically say thank you. Thank you for the assistance that I know they are now receiving. And that thank you can be whatever I would like that thank you to be. I've learned over the course of my life as well, at 59 now, most people enjoy giving as a way of saying thank you. Some people appreciate something more when they've paid for something. I noticed that with my teenage kids, right? As the mean mom, they always had skin in the game when they got stuff. Having skin in the game made them a lot more appreciative and took care of things a lot better. I think the same can be said for adults as well. Not all of the adults that I know, but many. Understanding that feeding the vacuum, keeping the balance between the seen and the unseen is a really great, good thing. Rather than just taking from my garden, just taking from the forest, taking, I give. Sometimes the exchange is that Todd will go outdoors and he'll drum and sing. My sisters are coming here in May, Easton, my son, is receiving his Indian name. And there will be a giveaway. There will be a thank you. There will be a wopila for their travel. There will be a wopila for spirit who will be participating in that ceremony. A thank you. There will be an exchange. And one thing that I've learned in all of my years with my Lakota relatives is the importance and, frankly, the good feeling of the wopila. If you've ever been out on the reservation with me and been witness to a giveaway, what you witness is that sometimes the people that have the least are the ones who give the most. Have you ever experienced that? The people that have the least to give are the ones who give the most. I have seen that over and over and over again. Some of the most amazing giveaway ceremonies. Right. It's a way of saying thank you for the abundance of love that our beloved shared, for their legacy, etc. Thank you to Spirit for helping us. Thank you to the Tunkashilas, Wakantanka. Thank you. Thank you. Let me give to the community that has supported us. I think the overall Del Marie is saying, we do a wopila, an act of gratitude for the blessings given, tangible, non-tangible blessings that we see. Example, leaving food out for ancestors and burying the food into Unchimaka as thanking her for sustaining all living things. I love that. Yeah, Easton, the little booger. Holly is saying, I smile every time I see the box you gave me during your last class, Del Marie. Patricia is saying, I have seen that many times. Yeah. I have a sliding scale too. Some of you know this. It dates back to when I started doing sessions. A lot of people realize that some of my first teachers that helped me understand how to give spiritual readings. I really don't like that term, readings. It sounds so chintzy or vaudevillian, I guess. I don't know. But to work with my clairvoyants were Catholic nuns. I was very blessed by that. They taught me how to use those gifts, the charismatic gifts that I have, in a good way. So they trained me how to do it in a good way. And that was way back in 1997. That was a couple days ago for sure. And since then, I have had what I call the sliding scale for sisters, for the sisters. So if a nun comes to me for a session, and they say, well, what can I do for you? I always say the same thing. Sister, will you pray for me? I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it? For me, that's more than an equal exchange. Sister, will you pray for me? And over the years, because some of my clients are also Catholic priests, and they will ask, how can I repay you? How can I pay you? I will say something kind of similar. I will say, Father, will you light a candle in the Lady Chapel for me and my family? Right? Oh, well, of course I can. Of course I can. And that's the exchange. Sometimes people are flabbergasted that those were my first, right? Metaphysical teachers were Roman Catholic nuns. Well, that's the truth of it. Yeah. Yes. And everybody knows that in my schedule, sometimes I've had to put other clients and students on hold because I've been contacted by a mother or a father who's lost their child. And those people always go to the top of the list. Right? We have this way of working with exchange, and really the point of today's podcast is about if you've not ever been able to receive, look at that. Take a look at why. If you're somebody who gives and gives and gives to the point of exhaustion, take a look at that. Take a look at why. If you're somebody who just expects that everything is going to be done for you free for nothing, because you're you, take a look at that. If you're somebody who can't accept payment for your gifts and talents, take a look at that. If you're somebody who undervalues and gets angry at the person next door with the same shingle who does value, take a look at that. Sit with that. If you've never said thank you in your life, take a look at that. If you don't know how to say thank you, some people just don't know how to say thank you. Take a look at that. And thank yous come in many ways, by the way, we know that. It doesn't always come out in a monogrammed, mailed in the mail, handwritten thank you. Sometimes it's done in other ways. And while we can all say, well, you shouldn't have done that, but thank you for doing so. You didn't need to do that, but thank you. Isn't that wonderful? You didn't need to do that, but thank you. Sometimes it's the spiritual gifts. Well, they just know how to do that, so it comes to them naturally, so they don't really need a thank you. Wrong. Yeah, everybody needs a thank you. Spirit needs a thank you. I say thank you all the time to the trees in the forest. Hey, every time a wind blows through the enchanted forest, I get ahead of that. I'm already out singing to the trees, singing to the wind, offering a little bit of tobacco, saying thank you for flowing with the wind, so for bending so gracefully, and that if they're going to lose a limb or they're going to topple over, that they don't do it on any other living thing. I'm ahead of that, and I say thank you in advance. And when the storm passes and I walk out and I see where things landed and didn't land, I say thank you again. Thank you is a good thing. Hey, Jessica. Have a great afternoon, Kelly. So that's exchange. And if there is an exchange to be made and somebody doesn't make it, have you ever had that? Oh, Lord, where you have to be the bill collector? That's a lot of fun. Oh, it's frustrating. Be the bill collector. I learned that a long time ago. For a while there, at one time I was kind of shy. Like if somebody registered for a class and they didn't pay for it, and didn't pay for it, and didn't pay for it, and didn't pay for it, or a session and didn't pay for it, and didn't pay for it, and didn't pay for it, I would just think to myself, well, not anymore. There's an exchange, and if the exchange is agreed upon, it needs to be fulfilled. And that goes for us when we've agreed to pay somebody for something as well. Because there's a disturbance in the frequency when we don't fulfill our obligations. Those can also, you know how we give the Thank you for the blessings in my life and for the blessings that continually flow into my life. When we continue to break the exchange of paying what we owe, that also becomes momentum in the energy field of the universe. And before you know it, we are ensconced in lack. We got nothing, right? Del Marie is saying, just being grateful and giving gratitude is a great feeling within itself. Yeah. Rob is saying, but that's capitalism. You bet it is, Rob. Ollie is saying, I've started talking to the trees during storms. Thanks for your sharing your practice. I always do that. Yep, spiritual capitalism right there. I'm gonna butter up the trees, talk to the wind. I'm doing it all. And Todd will tag team me on it if he's here, and if he's not here, he's away on business. He'll tag team me from wherever he happens to be. Yeah. But if I ask somebody for help, they're going to want X, Y, and Z. Well, sometimes when we ask somebody for help, we know what the charge is going to be. We know that. But we also have friends and colleagues, etc., that would like to help. And I say, if you're unable to help somebody, it's also okay to say, I'm unable to help you at this time. I wish I could help. I'm not in a position to do so at this time. Sometimes we offer help to somebody. Would you like my assistance with that? Well, I really would like your assistance, but I don't know how to repay you. Be honest. And if you can't offer assistance, be honest about that. Rather than go into your own personal deficit. Don't bite off more than you can chew kind of sort of thing. Have you ever done that? Overpromised? That's part of an unbalanced exchange as well. I've done that. I'm the first to admit that. I have done that in my life. I'm getting better at it. In my late 50s, I'm getting way better at that. Understanding my limits before I become the grouchy giver. I don't want to be the grouchy giver. And so that I'm not the crabby giver, I have learned my limits. And I've learned that it is okay for me to say, I can't do that at this time. I'm unable to do that. You know, this past summer, I had another mild stroke. As many of you know, it was actually early autumn, and I had another stroke in 2021. And having to finally have that, you know, the conversation with self, the conversation with my husband, with my kids, about limitations, about the need for rest, and about the limitations that at my age I currently have with how many sessions I can safely conduct in a week or a month. And it was really an interesting process just for me to go onto my website and place a notice that I was on hiatus. That was a first. And it took me a minute. There was the part of me, the military brat, you know, the army kid, thinking, oh my God, you're caving in. But my common sense caught up with the army brat real quick and said, You're not caving in, you're taking care of yourself. And that's the exchange for good health. That's the law of exchange. You can keep going like a freight train, and you're not going to be very good at readings when you're 6 feet under, or ashes on Elisa's shelf, right, in probably your bedroom closet. Not going to be much help there. Exchange, the law of exchange, give and take, balance. It's a great subject. Have a great day, Rob. Understanding exchange. People love to give. People love to give. I think that that's a pretty general and accurate statement. People love to give. People can give to varying degrees of their ability to give, and that includes us. And the ability to receive, whether it's a compliment, a gift, a hug, whatever it is. It's something I think we can always be working on, all of us, the giving and the receiving. And being honest about it up front. Well, what do you expect in return? What can I give you in return? And if somebody says nothing, just say thank you. Say thank you. No need for one-upmanship. But do realize that these laws also apply on the spiritual plane. When I invite the archangels, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, Gavriel, Raziel, Azrael, Metatron, those are usually my go-tos. To help me, I leave a thank you. I give a thank you. If I ask my favorite saints, Saint Mary Magdalene, Saint Catherine, Saint Teresa, if I ask for their intercession, Saint Cyprian, Saint Expedite, I do the same thing. I leave a thank you, or I pay something forward. If I'm praying with my chanupa, my pipe, my sacred pipe, I say thank you with some tobacco, with some songs, with a giving. I say thank you. Relationships that we have with one another on the earth plane, to me, in my reality, in my experience of this human journey, is replicated in the spiritual. If you're going to say thank you on the physical plane, which hopefully you do, and give and receive, understand that thank yous in giving and receiving are very much akin in the spiritual plane. Thank you for the answer to that prayer. Thank you for not answering that prayer. Now with my 2020 vision, I can see the grace that was given to me because y'all didn't answer it. Saying thank you. With that, everybody, thank you for being you, for supporting my work at the Temple Within and the School of Sacred Studies at Gathering Thunder Foundation. Thank you. Wopila. Lila Washde. So good. Get out there and shine your light as only all of you can shine your light. You are a blessing, a great blessing on Grandmother Earth, both in the seen and the unseen realms. Have a great day, everybody. Shine on.